Today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about gear tracks and the best way to use this awesome accessory. Now you will see several different styles of gear track on canoes and kayaks, including this style here, as well as some of the thicker top loading styles like you'll see on the big water PDLs and Predator PDLs. But they all work fundamentally the same, and that is there is some sort of accessory that you're going to attach, and I'm going to go through a series of those today. That it uses a T-shaped bolt that will slide through a gap, usually on the ends. And after that slides through, you can see that bolt can then slide freely up and down, and that creates the tension, and whatever you're attaching attaches to the top of that bolt right there. And this allows you to change the location and the type of accessory you have on there very quickly. I mean, one of the things that terrified me most when I had my first kayak was drilling holes in it, and ironically, I was drilling holes to install gear track. Thankfully, most of the modern fishing kayaks and some of the canoes come with this pre-installed gear track. Now, the length of the bolt that is required to install your accessories may vary. This is especially true for the big water and Predator PDLs that have a slightly thicker mounting plate for their gear track, and you'll need a little bit longer bolt in my experience to attach those accessories. Thankfully, these things are readily available through a number of manufacturers. Now, you will encounter two primary ways to mount accessories to gear tracks. One is some sort of spline, which is often a star or rigid port that allows some sort of accessory to lock into it. Oftentimes they'll have some sort of spring-loaded locking mechanism or a twist and lock mechanism. And the other will be some sort of ball style mount. And these are very easy to attach to your gear tracks. You simply lock them on, rotate them, and then with that tightening down on the bolt, it creates a firm attachment point for your accessory on your gear track. Now, a common accessory that you'll see installed on a lot of gear track is a rod holder. And rod holders can be used for creating storage opportunities, or for somebody like me, I actively use these when fishing, when I'm trolling especially, or when I'm still fishing with bait. The challenge with these is that these gear tracks are often very close, tight into the cockpit, and can interfere with your ability to pedal. The accessories might interfere with it, or the rod holders or the rod butt might interfere with it. And for this reason, I highly recommend the use of extension arms. And these extension arms will allow you to move your accessory out away from the cockpit and give you more space to operate within. This is a Ram Mounts HD rod holder, and what I like about it is it allows me to move this away or bring this back towards the seat if I need to, simply by hitting this button right here. It'll release a lock. But I can also adjust the angle at which this locks in, and so I can bring this rod holder back towards me and then have my rod lock into this spline here, and now I've got a rod holder that's out away from my ability to pedal or paddle, depending on what propulsion system that you're using. Additionally, this rod holder is kind of nice in that it has a built-in action camera mount here, so I can attach an action camera or ball mount here, and then from that ball mount I can put on things like my GoPro, or even attach an X grip for putting a phone on here for catching those fish selfies as well in the cockpit. So a really neat feature. I really like these extension arms. Most of the major accessory manufacturers, including Scotty, Yak Attack, Ram Mounts like this one here, all produce some sort of extension arm that make it a little bit easier to rig your rod and rod holder in a position that's not going to interfere with the use of your kayak. Now, one thing you'll note here is that this mount here is a single spline mount. So there's just a single T-bolt holding this spline in place. And when I'm trolling for a really powerful species like Chinook salmon here in the Pacific Northwest, or if you're pursuing other large game fish species, either offshore or in freshwater, this single T-bolt might not be enough. And so people have experienced these really powerful fish ripping their rod holders right out of this gear track system, and that's why I highly recommend converting to a dual T-bolt base for your spline. So Ram Mounts has a dual T-bolt spline here, and for mine, because I want to utilize my space efficiently, I've actually incorporated 2 ball mounts into that dual T-bolt spline, and I can use this dual T-bolt spline to mount my rod holder very close to me and bring it back to me so it's within easy reaching distance of the seat. But additionally, I can use these ball mounts to attach my Fishfinder and over-the-rail transducer. And this way I'm just utilizing a very small space to mount a number of my accessories to, and because it's using 2 T-bolts, I don't have to worry about it if a big king salmon comes knocking on my door. So let me show you how these ball mounts work. Now, I recommend ball mounts for up to 7-inch screens. If you're going to go higher than a 7-inch screen because of the weight of the screen, then I would transition to something that's more spline based. That's going to give you a little bit less shake on the head mount unit. But for these 7-inch screens and smaller, this is no problem, and I can attach my over-the-rail transducer here. So this makes it very easy to move everything on and off the kayak very quickly between kayaks. I don't have any problems, and I can even pull this up and out of the water when I'm on the move. Of course, there's a number of other accessories you can attach to your gear track systems. Like I mentioned before, you can attach your cell phones on here using a variety of attachment techniques. So here I've got a Ram ball mount attached to here, and then I can use what's called an X grip, and this allows me to put any size cell phone on here. This is really nice for when I can rotate this around and have this facing me when I want to do some pretty wicked fish selfies. Additionally, you can do other accessories like GoPro cameras there. For me, I like to push the camera further away so I really capture all that action. And for that, I recommend something like a camera boom arm. They make these in lots of different lengths. Lots of different companies manufacture these. And I like to use the dual T-bolt spline bases for these so that I get less camera shake, although a lot of the stabilization and the software cameras will take care of that nowadays. But still, it's nice to be able to have that as well, so I can really swing that arm out and create a lot of depth and capture all that action, the hook set, the fish, the netting, everything. Additionally, you can put things on like paddle clips or gaff clips, like I have here from Ram Mounts. There's several different variations of this from different companies that basically 2 roller balls will create tension and allow you to snap anything in there, and those will also just slide and lock onto your gear track. And that's the great thing about gear track, is it really allows you to customize your kayak, dial things into the location without having to drill holes. This is great, especially if you're sharing kayaks with somebody or you're moving between kayaks, because you're not having to drill. You can move things around, and especially if you're just getting started, you'll find that your initial ideas for rigging your kayak may change, or the types of rigging that you have may change depending on if you change fisheries or you move to a new location. You might have different requirements for your kayak. All right, so if you have any questions, just let us know in the comment section below, but be sure to make maximum use of your gear track. The main point I want to drive home is if you're going to mount anything light, then a single T-bolt mount is probably sufficient. If you're going to mount anything heavy or with a lot of leverage, like these camera booms or rod holders when you're targeting or trolling for large, powerful game fish, then you're probably going to want to go to that dual T-bolt design. All right, guys, I'll see ya. Bye.